Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Board Games Hitting My Table. This is where I talk about all of the games that I've been playing over the last couple of weeks. This episode covering the first half of October 2023. Now I don't have too many games here to go through, so it's going to be a pretty quick one, but nonetheless, before I get started, I want to give a shout out to the show sponsor KIENDA.co.uk, who are my go-to online retailer, and if you use the link in the show notes or the QR code, then you can get 5% off your first order. But let's start by talking about a 3-player game of Cryptid. So it has been a long time since I've played Cryptid, and I wanted to make a bit of an effort to get this one back to the table, so we did just that. Now, if you don't know Cryptid, this is an ultra streamlined deduction style game that's definitely different to your traditional kind of logical deduction games, because you're not asking those questions like, games like Sleuth or games like that. This one, you have a map, and basically this is some kind of genius algorithm that goes on behind the scenes, where the layout of the map is positioned in such a way that when each player is given a particular clue, there is only one hex that will abide by all of those clues. So for example, the clues that we had in this recent game was that my clue was that it could be on the desert or the mountains. One of my opponents was that it had to be within 3 spaces of a white structure, and the other opponent's was that it had to be within 2 spaces of one of these kind of beastly hexes, which has an extra symbol on there. And again, there's only one hex on the board that would point to. So you are quickly trying to narrow down each other player's clue. Now, the way that works is so easy, because all you do is you ask a player if their clue would be a yes or a no relating to a particular hex. You could say, look, could your clue be here? All they do is they put down a cylinder if it's a yes, or a square if it's a no. If there's a no, then you have to put down another no cube yourself. So very quickly, the clues are narrowed down and the board gets swallowed up quite a lot, so that it definitely moves along at quite a brisk pace. Now, strangely enough, this game I have an eerily good record on. I don't think I've ever lost a game of this, and I won this most recent one as well, because I do get quite competitive over it for some reason. But the clues themselves are pretty easy. We did play the basic mode and not the advanced mode, where the clues can kind of have a negative version of the original clue, which is a bit more brain burnery, but we kept it simple because we haven't played in quite a while. But I really like this one. This one really does kind of sing to the kind of school of design that I like, where the mechanisms could not be more simple. Just again, point to a hex, yes or no, and move on. And yeah, I really love that about this one. So definitely a different feel for a deduction game, and I do rate it quite a lot if you want a very accessible but still thinky deduction game. That is Cryptid, a really nice one indeed. We played a 3-player game of Spicy just to finish a games day of. Now, Spicy, a game that I shouldn't like so much, but I absolutely adore. This little bluffing game as you're shedding cards, either trying to, well, basically you're trying to climb up the ladder of 8 different suits, but you're playing them face down, and you have to declare the number and the suit it is. And each time you play a card, your opponents can call your bluff, thinking that you're lying. And if the challenge is if the challenge is correct, then they're going to get all those cards in the stack as points, and you'll have to draw cards. If it's incorrect, then the player who played the card will get all the points, and the other opponent who incorrectly challenged would pick up some cards. So simple, guaranteed some laugh out loud moments, and you can just lie through your teeth time and time again with this one, which is quite funny because I played with my mum. She admitted that she pretty much lied the whole time, but was completely getting away with it, and she ended up just I don't think she did sneak the win in the end, but it was a really close game that I did. I'm not too bad at this game, but I had a terrible game there where I did not get a single point, and every single challenge I put out there was unsuccessful. So yeah, I did awfully really, but still love this one for a 15-minute game. It doesn't really get much better. Also played a game of Kaching. So Kaching, complete hidden gem. This one is a game where you're trying to collect these cards here, and they're built in these rows columns, and you are drafting from these columns. A bit like Seven Wonders Duel style, where only the one right on the edge can be drafted, and then you're trying to get the matching colours of the high numbers and multiply them together. But because everything is so transparent here, you have to be very careful about the opportunities you're leaving to other players. Knowing when to bide your time, knowing when to sell to buy yourself some time, because you have to do one of those two options. You either have to pick up a card or sell two matching cards. And if you don't, you're going to be forced to pick up a card, which can, of course, give your opponent a great opportunity to pick up the card that you wanted for yourself. Really cool game. Again, very mathy, very uncomfortable feeling game. But again, if you are looking for a game that takes 15 minutes to play, it's 2-player only. This one is worth hunting for. It's a really good game that can actually act as a good teaching tool for like teaching children maths and stuff. But that's Kaching. Really like that one. We played a 2-player game of Get On Board. So I actually have the original New York and London one here, and I also have the Paris and Rome one inside. And that's what we played. We played the Paris and Rome map because it's only just come out and we've only played it a couple of times before. It's very similar to the original New York and London one, except I think it's a bit more forgiving. So in the New York and London one, you are actually punished for sharing the same roads as other players, but in the New York one, sorry, in the Paris one, you are actually rewarded for doing so. So it's quite a different feel to it, but gameplay mechanisms are exactly the same. As you are flipping a card over, the card will show which paths you can draw, and you're building a route on this communal board here, picking up these different customers, dropping them off to their locations, trying to reach public objectives, and it's just a very charming, very breezy, just enjoyable game that's been a consistent hit since I got this one a couple of years ago. So nice now that I have some additional content for it. I think it was a close game. I can't quite recall what happened there in terms of the result, but just more goodness from this lovely series of games, which I don't know if there's going to be more coming out. Actually, it'd be quite interesting to know if there are. I'm not really quite sure what else they could do with the system, because the purity is where this game really does shine. That is Get On Board. Keeping it simple, we played another 2-player game of Nalia. Nalia, one of the surprise hits of the year for me. This is a drafting game, as you're drafting these square tiles, which are divided up into 4 quarters, and you're placing them on your own little zoo here, trying to score as many objectives as you can from these kind of variable public objectives. But it has this system that you might be familiar with games like Cartographers, games like the Isle of Skye, where each round a different combination of the scoring cards are triggered. And I think we made some errors in terms of the rules management in this one, because one of the scoring criteria I think we got wrong. We might have scored one too many times, so a bit of housekeeping mistakes there. But yeah, this one is so good. I mean, it's such an easy game to teach and learn. Massive brain burnery puzzle as you're trying to optimally place every single card, and you can actually use this draft quite nastily, because we had an objective that I think was have the fewest sharks on the board, or fewest gorillas, something like that. And obviously we wanted to make sure that was going to your opponent, which is a bit easier to control when it's in a 2-player game. And it was, definitely a really tight one. And I definitely recommend this as a small box game with a lot of gameplay in that box. I played several games of Rapido. So Rapido is kind of my go-to game that I play with my family, really. My dad doesn't play too many games at all, but he'll happily play a few games of Rapido. So this is kind of Rainer Knizia's take on the can't stop dice rolling game. You're just rolling dice, trying to climb up the staircase. Every time you roll a duplicate number, you go up that many steps. But if you roll a particularly high number, you might want to save it, lock it into place, and put it on this kind of this board here. And basically, if somebody rolls higher than you, they can go either lower than you on the staircase and kick you off, or they can go higher than you and kind of make themselves passively move a certain amount of spots when it gets back round to their turn. So it's kind of cool that you have this 2-way approach of, do I want to roll doubles? Do I want to lock myself on the spot and make myself move passively, but be at the risk of kicking other people off. And it's just such an enjoyable game. Good back and forth. Sometimes you get runaway leaders, which means that people will start working together to try and kick them off. So it's nice that you have some control here and some good play interaction. And I think this is one of the best simple dice games that I have. My ratings for this game have just gone up and up and up. And for simplicity, this one might be one of the highest games on my top 100 in relation to how easy the game is. You know, this is a game that anybody can play, and I adore it. So that is Rapido. I played a 2-player game of Framework. So Framework, a game that I've recently acquired and replaced Nova Luna with. Almost identical to Nova Luna, this kind of puzzly, spatial tile placement game as you're trying to build these chains, trying to achieve as many of these objectives as you can. Now, we had a weird game here because a lot of the tiles that we drew out for, say, the first quarter of the game didn't have many frames on, so we're drawing a ton of objective cards and not really getting anywhere. And then all of a sudden, obviously, the frame cards started coming out and we started to be able to get somewhere. I think it came down to a couple of cylinders at the end, which was the difference maker. So I think I just squeezed the win on this one. But yeah, I love this game. It's so clever. The network's become pretty big, actually. And that might have been because of the layout of the tiles that came, rather than being so many frame cards. But yeah, I really do like this one. It's definitely a game that I'd play anytime, anywhere, really. Lots of depth, very simple rule sets. The kind of the quickness of the draft is much nicer in this one as compared to the time track in Nova Luna. But this one does look a bit more drab, which I mentioned in my review recently. So that is Framework. Definitely my favourite Uwe Rosenberg game. And finally, keeping on the kind of abstract theme, we played a 2-player game of Chin. Chin, one of the best games that I've played this year, no question. A domino-style game as you are trying to build zones of these particular colours and shed these pagodas, because you are racing, much like Framework, you're racing to get rid of these pagodas, and you're going to do that by building certain areas of the colours here. When they get to a certain size, you get rid of another pagoda, and when you connect to the cities, if you have the most pagodas touching them, then you will get rid of another pagoda. So it really is an optimization puzzle. There's a bit of back and forth as you can steal locations off each other, lots of blocking, stuff like that. And this game is as good as an abstract game can get, in my opinion. It is like a 30-minute game, quite thinky, still very enjoyable and relaxing. And yeah, this one kind of hits all the sweet spots for me, what I want in my board games. So this one should be out there, should be being played all the time, but sadly it's out of print. And yeah, I really can't think of a single negative thing to say about this game. I think it is almost perfect, and I love it. So that is Chin. I also played a couple of games that I don't have. These are my friends' games. We played a 2-player game of Welcome To, kind of one of the original blockbuster roll and write games, or this is a flip and write game where you're trying to build a little block of houses, trying to numerically or organize numerically these numbers in these rows, chop them up into different blocks, climb different tracks, all this different stuff that you'd expect from a roll and write. This one is a really high quality one. I do enjoy this game a lot, actually. And this most recent game we played was quite interesting because we came down to the second tie break. So we tied on points, and then I think it was the next category, which I can't quite remember what it was, we tied on that one as well. So it was as close a game as it could be, and I think the rulebook determined that we completely tied in the game, and yeah, there was nothing to differentiate us, so that was quite funny. The other game we played was Living Forest, which is kind of a push your luck deck building style game, as you're collecting these animal cards, keep on drawing them until you go bust or try not to go bust, and then using these different currencies to do different things, buy new cards, put out these flame tokens, and stuff like that. So it's actually a really good one that's heavily inspired by the Quacks of Quedlinburg, but I thought this was going to be a bit of a cash grab, a bit of a throwaway style game, but I actually think it's pretty good, and I definitely would play this one again. So that is The Living Forest. So that's all the games that I played. Nothing Nothing major here. I've not played any big Euros or anything like that because I have been learning quite a few new games. I've had to play, quite a few of them, and I've got some time limits to get them reviewed and stuff. So that's probably why I'm playing more newer games again rather than playing ones in my collection. But still lovely to get these ones to the table. And if you have enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel and check out my other content too. But for everybody else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye bye.